Real quick before we get started, if you play basketball, Mason Plumlee hits you with a tween,
Retired.
a tween, left-handed, in your eye from about 18 feet. Just retire.
It might be time to give it up. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you don't let that happen.
Hey man, one more thing. Mason Plumlee is obviously not the reason why we're recording on the Thursday night.
No.
But before we get started, I just need Hornets fans to issue an apology to Mason Plumlee so we could just because y'all hard on that dude. But we digress. Let's move on. We ain't talking Mason Plumlee.
Late night edition because big news, and we just didn't want to wait all the way till Sunday.
Right.
But the Carolina Panthers head coach search has officially ended today, as they offered the position to former Indianapolis Colts coach, former Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator, former Carolina Panthers player, Frank Reich.
Yeah.
This move is very polarizing. I've heard everything from people saying they're not. I mean, I'm a 49ers fan, so I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Shut up.
I'm a 49ers fan. I don't even know why I'm doing this podcast. And then some people are praising the move. And I'll just say this before I turn it over to you, Jamal. I think objectively, it's a good move. Okay.
Yeah.
I think objectively, it's a good hire. I think that Frank Reich is a pretty good coach, knows the way around the NFL, has a Super Bowl ring with the Eagles. It looks like a good hire. But in context, it's not a good look for the organization. Because I don't think the gap in Frank Reich and Steve Wilks is large enough for you to just simply ignore what Steve Wilks was able to do this season. Okay, right. I said this on a thread on Facebook, but the difference in Frank Reich and Steve Wilks' career arcs as head coaches has been more about opportunity than ability. Steve Wilks was given a raw deal, and a lot of people are gonna trot out Frank Reich's win-loss record as a coach, which he has a winning record, right? But context is important. If you take away the seasons in which he had Andrew Luck as a starter and Phillip Rivers, two Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Andrew Luck, there's some debate, but Andrew Luck was an elite NFL quarterback before he retired abruptly. But if you take away the seasons in which you had those two, Frank Reich's record is a losing record. Okay? 18 and 22 and 1. Okay? So, yes, he has a winning record as a coach, but if you take away the fact that he had, by the way, he had an all-pro running back 2 years ago as well, all-pro first team NFL.
Jonathan Taylor, yeah.
Right, so, yeah, okay, so he was able to win games with, like, two great NFL quarterbacks, right? He's going to come to Carolina, and he's not going to have any of that. Meanwhile, Steve Wilks in Arizona had
Nothing.
No need
to go down the list.
Right. Then he comes here and takes over the shit show that Matt Rule left. I mean, the team was in disarray and wins as many games in the remainder of the season as Matt Rule won in 3 seasons here. I think that speaks a lot to Steve Wilks' ability, what he was able to do without taking anything away from Frank Reich. I just feel like the Panthers did the correct thing, but not the right thing. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense, actually. Yeah. No, man, I don't know how I'm going to follow that, man, because a lot of that is kind of what I was thinking tonight, man. And let me tell you, before we went on live, I kind of hinted at you, like, I don't know how much I even want to talk about Frank Reich tonight, and for a lot of the reasons you said, because the words that are going to come up a lot in this show are objectivity and fairness. But you know why I don't want to be objective and fair tonight? You know why I don't want to? Because damn it, if we're talking about objectivity and fairness, then why the hell is Steve Wilks not the damn coach?
Oh, right. Yeah.
I don't want to talk about objectivity and fairness tonight. Look, man, I'm coming from a very emotional standpoint tonight. Look, your opening dialogue was objective. It was well thought out, and you're speaking of it in a very logical sense. Me, not me. I'm
angry black fan. You gotta be angry, right?
I'm full angry black fan tonight. I will be more so on the objective and fair side come Sunday. But in all seriousness, man, with Wilks, I just don't know how much more he could have done to really get the job. You know what I mean? So that kind of lets me know. And this is what quelled my disappointment just a bit. And I think you'll feel me on this. And this is very easy to say now. I know everybody out there will be like, well, no crap. But looking back on it, we can pretty much say the Panthers had zero plans of making Wilks a head coach, even before they gave him the interim tag. Let me say that again. Even before they ever gave Wilks the interim tag, they had no plans of making that the head coach. Okay. All right. So I don't know if that makes people feel better or worse, but just for context, I want to throw that out there. But with that being said, man, during the season, he offered us so much hope because the Panthers look so much more well prepared to play every week. You got the players rallying around Steve Wilks. You got the fans rallying around Steve Wilks. You got this local story from this West Charlotte guy who can be the coach of the Carolina Panthers right here in Charlotte. It made too much sense from that angle. But with all that being said, it's all for naught because it probably was never going to happen. Even if he went undefeated, I don't think Tepper was ever had Wilks in mind to be the head coach.
Yeah, when they gave him the interim tag, Tepper laid out really like this impossible standard.
Right.
I believe he said something to the effect of, I'm paraphrasing here, but like if he does an amazing job or something like that, then he will be considered. He didn't even say like, if we win the Super Bowl, I'm making the coach. He was just kind of like, if he does an amazing job, well, then of course you got to consider him. Like, it's like, how do you set like this impossible standard for him, and considering the circumstances, that's what's important. It would be different if we felt like the Panthers underachieved under Steve Wilks, but they did not. If anything, they overachieved, right? I mean, after the McCaffrey trade, I believe we were on the show talking about 3 wins, right? Right. And they were 1 win away from making the playoffs. So it's like, if that's not an amazing job, then what is? I mean, it would have been unrealistic for him to say, well, he got to win a Super Bowl or even a playoff game with the team that Matt Rule left behind.
And you said one word that I want to harp on even more, man. Let's talk about that word, opportunity. Why is it that Wilks can't even get the opportunity to fail? I know you get what I'm saying. I know that sounds worse than what I'm saying, but you get exactly what I mean when I say that. Okay. Now, I heard some guy on the radio, some NFL analyst, and I wish I had the name, but y'all forgive me, but I forgot. It was an NFL analyst who was guesting on WFNZ earlier today, and they were talking about how there's like a pattern of interim coaches who the team rallies around, and then the very next year they kind of fall off a cliff. And it was interesting because he named 3 black coaches, which I find very interesting how he named those. It was Romeo Crennel and 2 other guys that I can't remember. With that being said, why should Steve Wilks have to pay for that when he's clearly shown you that he deserved to get the opportunity to do so? Now, here's where I'm going with this, man. Why is it that Frank Reich, who was fired in the middle of the damn season, let's not forget that part, okay, who was fired in the middle of the season, okay, he gets another opportunity to prove himself. Now, albeit in another franchise, but why is it that he gets the opportunity to prove himself again, but it seems a little harder for guys who looks like Steve Wilks, hint, hint, wink, wink, to get the opportunity to prove themselves all over again?
No, let's talk about let's address the elephant in the room so we can get this point of discussion out of the way. Steve Wilks went and got him a lawyer. Now, to be fair, he did not get the lawyer for this reason. This was because Steve Wilks has been subpoenaed in the Brian Flores defamation lawsuit. And so that's his lawyer that he has for that lawsuit. But his lawyer released a statement today stating, "We are shocked and disturbed that after the incredible job Coach Wilks did as the interim coach of the Carolina Panthers, including bringing the team back into playoff contention and garnering the support of the players and fans, that he was passed over by the head coach position by David Tepper. There is a legitimate race problem in the NFL, and we can assure you that we will have more to say in the coming days." That's a pretty bold statement for a lawyer to make. And considering, the Brian Flores defamation case, the light that shed on race relations at the upper levels of the NFL, this just looks, the optics are bad for the franchise. They just are. Now, I'm going to say, I don't think David Tepper is like racist. I don't think like he said, well, Steve Wilks is a black guy and I don't want a black guy head coach.
Right.
I don't think that was the case here. But I do think it's more of a good old boys club thing. Frank Reich is that.
And Kaiser, let me cut you off real quick. But not only that, but let's just say you casually watch football or you casually watch the Panthers. How's that going to look? If you don't know, if you don't follow David Tepper the Panthers, what are you going to think? You know what I mean? I'm sorry. I'll say it. I've had a lot of people that I've talked to today who maybe don't watch the Panthers or football as hardcore as we do, but the first word out of their mouth is like, yeah, that looks racist. You know what I mean? With that being said, Tepper has some explaining to do, and I don't know when that's going to happen. If I'm Dave Tepper, I probably don't do that during Frank Reich's interview. I probably don't talk about Steve Wilks during the Frank Reich interview because that's truly not fair to Frank Reich.
Yeah, but he's gonna have to address that
at some point. At some point, he has to address that.
And my thing is, if he had hired Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh,
like we've been mentioning, right?
I don't think it'd be that much of a deal because I mean, as much as we love Steve Wilks, Harbaugh and Payton are
proven. They're proven,
super proven guys, right? But then you hire Frank Reich, and that's what the issue is. It's not an indictment on Frank Reich, who I think is a fine NFL coach. It's that, wow, you missed out on the big names that you got that you wanted. So you hire another unproven guy when you had an unproven guy right there that turned your team around in the middle of the season that the players and the fans love. It's odd. I think a lot of people were hoping for, and this is what I was hoping for. Steve Wilks head coach, Frank Reich offensive coordinator. I think that was a great pairing of the two. But
I heard some people say Frank Reich head coach, Steve Wilks defensive coordinator. I heard a lot of people say they'd be okay with that. But let me say this. This is something I gotta say before we move on, man. I joined Carolina Blitz and Sheena Quick's Twitter space earlier today, man. I think they call it Quick Blitz, and I was glad to join it, man. But here's what I said. I want to say it on our pod too, man. Unfortunately, Steve Wilks has become this symbol of what it means for brown people and upward mobility in this city of Charlotte, North Carolina. Let me make the parallel, okay? Hey, I'm black man Steve Wilks. I did a decent job under these circumstances. A lot of context there, but overall I did a good job. Okay. So you may not say I'm proven, but here's Mr. Reich. What is he really proven to? Why do I have to be perfect versus the guy you hired that's okay? And so again, I think there's a lot of symbolism there. You know what I mean?
No, I don't disagree with that at all. However, there's always the what's the term I'm looking for? The Panthers came out and said, we're looking for an offensive-minded coach.
Right.
So right then and there, that kind of
we knew.
Right. That took Steve Wilks out of the running. And to me, also, I kind of think this might be the bigger problem with the Panthers. Why do you want an offensive-minded coach? The identity of the Carolina Panthers for the past 25 plus years has been
to answer that question though, but go ahead.
Right. Run the ball, play defense. That is our identity. We got the 2 Super Bowls doing that. Why do you want suddenly we need an offensive guy, even though your defense was clearly the reason that you were even competitive in games this season?
All right, so I'm going to play Jamal Tepper for a second. Here's going to be Tepper's counter argument to that. Well, if you look at the last, maybe 4 or 5 seasons and the teams that have played in the Super Bowl and have been to conference championships, they all had great offenses. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Cincinnati Bengals. I guess you could throw in the Philadelphia Eagles at this point. They all had great offenses. And what do we know about the NFL? It is a copycat league. Everybody wants to copy off the successful teams. But at the same time, I personally think it's a bit overstated because if you look at somebody like the San Francisco 49ers, who are not necessarily explosive on the offensive end, they win games because they're creative offensively and they play great defense. That's how they win. So at the same time, why can't the Panthers be that team?
Let me ask you this, and there's everyone in chat. We're all NFL fans, and we've watched a lot of NFL over the last. I'm 44 years old, so I mean I've been watching NFL for 40 years, right? If you were in the Super Bowl, I don't care what era, and you got the number 1 offense versus the number 1 defense. Who are you picking to win that Super Bowl?
You go with the defense every time.
Every time. Especially as Panthers fans after Super Bowl 50.
Yep.
I understand the league shift. We want, well, first of all, you got to have good offensive players, right? We have DJ Moore, Deontay Foreman.
See, and this brings me to my next point. I'm glad you brought that up. Here's my next point. Now that you've hired your offensive-minded guy, so to speak, what are you going to do in the offseason to make sure he has the groceries he needs, so to speak? What are you going to do to make sure he has all the ingredients he needs to cook this meal to make us a better offensive team? Now, are you going to say, hey, I think we're good enough offensively, you just make us better? Or are you going to go get guys who fit with whatever your plans are to make us an offense team? Well, I'm just very interested in what Panthers brass is going to do in that regard in the offseason.
So the immediate rumor, as soon as this news broke, was that Vic Fangio would be brought in as the defensive coordinator, and that Frank Reich would get his choice of offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be upset at Vic. He's a very good defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But I keep thinking about Steve Wilks leaving the team in any capacity. That's a gap that's going to be very tough to fill, particularly when all the players liked him. He's been a part of the team the last few seasons. He's a Charlotte guy. He's really a Carolina Panthers fan, honestly. You just can't replace. You might be able to replace him as far as X's and O's, shifting personnel, those things. But there's an X factor, that you will not be able to replace. And so to make up for that, boy, whoever this new coaching staff is, they better win 12 games next year, right?
Look, we held the Hornets to the same standard when they fired Borrego last year. Now we see how this is working out. I'm going to hold the Panthers to this same standard. Okay. All right. You made this big change and according to the Panthers brass, you want this huge change in culture and the mindset and everything under the sun. Go prove it next season. 12 games of bust.
And see, here's the thing. Like Mr. Wolfcop says, you got to have the QB and some weapons. So let's say you miss out on the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes, which is coming up very, very, very soon, right?
And not just that. Let me take it a step further. What if you miss out on the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes, the C.J. Stroud sweepstakes, the Bryce Young sweepstakes? What are you going to do there? Well, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, exactly. No, that's exactly it. If you don't get so if you hire an offensive-minded coach, then you got to give him weapons, right? Yeah. And let's say we re-sign Deontay Foreman, and so we got him and Chuba Hubbard. That's a pretty solid backfield. The offensive line looks like they're gelling. Wide receiver, tight end, some gaps there, but you need a quarterback to tie it all together. And then we don't get a quarterback that we need. Do we really think that Frank Reich? Because like I said before, people are going to trot out his win-loss record. In the seasons in which he did not have an elite quarterback, he has a losing record. When he went 10-6 and 11-5, he had Andrew Luck and he had Phillip Rivers. He ain't going to have anywhere nearly as good as those two guys on this team throwing the football. So
it is going to be highly interesting if the Panthers trot out another retread quarterback come this season. It is going to be. Now, I don't think they should, and I don't think they will, but I don't put anything past them, quite honestly. So it wouldn't be a surprise, man. But I guess I'm speaking to the point of without that elite quarterback, man, we'll see exactly how good of a coach he is without the weapons he's had. There's no Andrew Luck that's readily available out there. There's no Phillip Rivers out there that's readily available. So the Panthers brass is going to have some work in getting him the quarterback that he probably needs. Yeah.
Now, you know what? If they do get Lamar Jackson, then I think they'll win some games, and we'll forget that we even had this conversation.
Kaiser, I made a joke a few episodes. I said, watch we end up with Frank Reich and Matt Corral. Damn it. It is my fault if that really happens. But go ahead.
Anthony brings up a good point. What about his Eagles offense coordinator resume? But see, that's the thing. Sometimes good coordinators don't make good coaches because you're not the coordinator when you're the coach. Sometimes you are, depending on, if you're calling your own. If you're Sean Payton, you're calling your own plays. But being a coordinator is because, coaches actually, a lot of what the head coach does is procedural stuff, personnel shifts, clock management. There, a lot of times, the play calling is like the least of their concerns. They may set up, a scheme or a game or a series of game plans, but for the most part, they're not calling the plays. And I don't get the idea that Frank Reich would be, the play caller. He may be. I don't know. We'll see. Also, the other players are going to want to play for him because the players have already said that they love playing for Wilks. Now they're not going to play for him, and they're professionals. They're going to play. But what if his approach is so different that they may say, you know what? I mean, Brian Burns is going to get paid, right? Right. But you got to keep him happy at the same time.
Right. But see, I think that brings up a bigger point, Kaiser, because I think we all kind of agree that one of Tepper's goals when he bought this franchise was to change the culture entirely. And today may have been the biggest shift in that culture. Now, that filters down to the actual personnel. In this offseason, we've already kind of alluded to the fact that Shaq Thompson may not even be on this team this year, if not for anything else, just because of a cap casualty. Why am I bringing this up? Because Shaq Thompson is a big part of Panthers culture and what Panthers culture is. You get rid of him, that's the first domino, okay? Now, who's to say the second, third, and fourth, and fifth domino won't fall because of this coaching change? So I kind of feel like David Tepper made not only just a big move because of his coaching hire, he made a big culture shift today. Now, who's to say whether it works out or not? I'm not going there today. We'll save that for Sunday. All I'm telling you is that there may be a bigger shift than what we even saw today.
No, absolutely. Maybe I'll give Tepper a sliver of credit. Maybe he learned his lesson from Matt Rule. I think he thought, okay, here's how we're going to rebuild. I'm going to bring a coach in and let him rebuild the team. That didn't work out. Especially not in the given timeline. So I think he's going to handle the situation with Frank Reich a little differently. I think he's going to try and say, okay, we got an offensive minded coach. So now let's rebuild the team in his image, so to speak. I'm just not sure that's the best thing for the Carolina Panthers. I'm not. It's insanely more difficult to maintain a high power offense in the league because players don't play very long, right?
Right.
For instance, look at Seattle. The Legion of Boom dominated defenses or the league defensively for how long? 6 seasons, right?
Right. Which is a long time in NFL time.
A long time. I can't think of the last team, maybe current Kansas City Chiefs notwithstanding, that had a consistently high-power offense season. Besides the Saints, maybe the Chiefs now. I mean, you're talking like very few teams. If Tepper thinks that he can reproduce that, more power to him. But then again, those teams had.
But okay, but then on top of that, Kaza, I'm looking at the NFC divisional game last week, and the score is what? It's a low-scoring game, right? The defenses were highlighted. You know what I mean? Dallas's defense was highlighted. San Francisco's defense was highlighted. Those were not high-scoring shootout games. So again, this kind of thing where you got to have a high-powered offense is just a bit overstated again, man.
Yeah, Frank Reich. That is a point a lot of people are missing. He was here. When the Carolina Panthers were an expansion team, and he has ties to the area and to the franchise, which may have been a consideration.
And his daughter got a job before all this went down.
You don't say. You don't say. You don't say. I really wish that wasn't the case because, boy, does that look not good. Boy, does that look not good.
Are y'all even trying to hide it at this point?
Yeah, Frank Reich is, like I said, he's been in the league as a coach in some form for a very long time, and he's been successful in a lot of different roles, particularly after he got fired as a wide receivers coach in Indianapolis some time ago. But he comes under Tony Dungy's coaching umbrella, and he's a professional. He's good. He's going to know what it's going to take to try and make the Carolina Panthers a better team. Okay, right. The issue is not whether or not Frank Reich is a good coach.
Right.
It is not. The issue was that should they have picked him over Steve Wilks? Because the implication is that, well, he's a better coach than Steve Wilks. Is he?
But see, and here's the thing, man. My thinking doesn't even equate Reich into the conversation. I go back to that word opportunity. That's all I'm saying. If your true goal, the goal should have. If I'm Tepper, I say this man Wilks deserves the opportunity to prove that he's a head coach. He has proven that. I don't even think about other coaches. So that's why Frank Reich to me is just something that I'll just discuss Sunday because it's not even really entering my equation today. I'm just so like a lot of fans, like a ton of fans out there. I'm just so upset that Wilks never got the opportunity to prove himself, man. And here goes our butthole Atlanta Falcons fan, of course. And let's talk about that real quick. What the hell are we gonna do if Wilks goes to the Atlanta Falcons?
The rumor is that the Falcons, it's not a rumor actually, the source said that they were monitoring the situation very closely. This was before the Panthers made the announcement.
That is such a jerk move, but go ahead.
Let me ask you this. This is a good segue. Let's say you're Coach Wilks, and the Panthers say, we decided to go with Frank Reich, but we'd love to keep you on the staff as a defensive coordinator.
Those close to Steve Wilks have said this. He's a very prideful man, and I think he is just judging by what I've seen from people who are close to him, he's very hurt by this, and he has a lot of pride. So with that being said, if I'm Steve Wilks and if I know him like I would like to know him, I probably stick up my middle finger to the Panthers and say, nah, hell no. Now, with that being said, if the other opportunities are not there, hey man, it ain't a lot of jobs in the NFL, bro.
Well, he's probably not going to get looked at for a head coaching position. Let's be honest.
Unfortunately, right.
And to go to a division rival, a team like the Falcons could greatly benefit from Steve Wilks being their defensive coordinator.
Yep.
We've seen players do this all the time out of spite. Go to division rivals to spike their old teams.
Right.
Does Steve Wilks have that in him? I'm not saying he would do it out of spite, but I mean,
from what I've heard, yes. Yes. He actually probably would, man. And with Charlotte sports luck these days, it wouldn't shock me one bit.
If I was Steve Wilks, Steve Wilks is, from everything I've heard, he is a consummate professional.
Yeah.
And he's not gonna do a Matt Rule. He's not gonna throw the Panthers under the bus publicly.
Right.
Barbershop, maybe a little different, but he's not publicly gonna say anything but good stuff about Tepper and the Carolina Panthers organization. But having said that, if I'm Steve Wilks, I probably go talk to Atlanta. I go talk to and be like, hey, what's going on? What y'all doing down here?
Right.
Just because it's like, okay, you didn't think I was good enough to be the head coach. Then I don't have, you thought I was good enough to replace Matt Rule for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I proved that I was better than him even, that still wasn't good enough for you.
Right.
And then you hire a guy who is just as unproven as I am. People will try and convince me that Frank Reich is not unproven. I think as a head coach, there's some wiggle room there. There's some debate. Yeah. He's had, like I said, opportunity versus ability. Frank Reich has had
Hey, listen, we're going to put it like this. Frank Reich has never been in an interim position where he had Sam Darnold as a lame duck quarterback and a position where Matt Rule didn't have his team prepared to play every week. Frank Reich has never been in that position before. Now, to be a bit objective, I'll give Frank Reich credit for one thing. He had some successful seasons under Jim Irsay. God bless him for that, because I have nothing positive to say about Jim Irsay as an owner. So I will give Frank Reich credit in that regard. But overall, I agree with you, man. I just don't think that.
I'll even say Frank Reich, I felt like got a raw deal from Indy.
Yeah, no doubt.
This past season.
Yeah.
So I feel
real quick. Anybody that fires Frank Reich and hires Jeff Saturday, I'm leaving at that. But go ahead.
No, good point. It just goes to show that, and this is going to be the talk of sports media all week. There's a problem with coaching hires in the NFL. Now, you may not agree with the statement that Steve Wilks' lawyer put out. The implication that Steve Wilks is not rehired or not hired as head coach because of race reasons. And I'm not even sure if I completely agree with that. But I agree, and I think most people will, that there is a problem in the NFL with hiring coaches to prominent positions in organizations that are not people of color. Right. I mean, it's like it's
and if not for anything else, it's the network.
And it's to the point where like the Rooney Rule is just a formality. We see teams do it all the time. Okay, they bring in like Eric Bieniemy and a bunch of other black coordinators. They interview them, and then who do they always hire? Guys like Frank Reich, right? So, that's gonna be the talk all week, which is unfortunate. It's unfortunate for Steve Wilks. It's unfortunate for Frank Reich, and it's unfortunate for the Carolina Panthers because like we don't need any more bad publicity.
No doubt.
Than we've had. I want to touch on something real quick. And I agree. They need to replace the Rooney Rule. A lot of people will debate over whether or not the NFL has to force coaching diversity.
I don't think they can, quite honestly. Man.
I mean, yeah, really you could not. But the thing is this, and this is with all forced diversity in media, sports, corporate America, whatever.
Right.
If you don't force people to do it, then they'll never do it. Right? If you didn't force NFL teams to hire black coaches and coordinators and front office members, then they won't do it. So what is the other answer?
Right.
I want to ask you about a statement that Matt Rule made.
Oh my God. It just the gift that keeps on giving.
Very recently, okay? We're gonna shift gears a little, Panthers fans. So if y'all drop off, that's okay.
Matt Rule has that effect on people.
Matt Rule made another ridiculous comment this week, in which he stated, I'm trying to get the exact quote. Okay. He stated, where is the quote? Okay, essentially he stated that he regrets throwing Cam Newton under the bus after the Buffalo Bills game, and he wished he had handled that press conference very differently. And then even before that interview last week, he said a lot of good things about Cam Newton. Said he had great respect for his attitude, work ethic, and thanked him for the impact he had on the team in 2021. What do you make of this ridiculous ass statement?
Some things are better left unsaid. And it's just more reason why I just don't want to hear anything else Matt Rule has to say. Because where was all this defense for Cam Newton when you were coaching?
Exactly.
I'm sorry. You were trying to save your damn job. That's where it was. Somebody had to take the blame for your lack of preparation for the Carolina Panthers. Somebody had to take the blame for your pathetic record. Somebody had to take the blame for the Panthers underachieving. So why not the most visible face, the guy who made the Carolina Panthers more relevant than you ever will or ever would have? So of course, I think Cam Newton was low-hanging fruit when you were throwing him under the bus when you were here. So that to me, man, that is cheap. That is Bush League. That is bitch-like. Sorry to cuss on this fine evening, but it is all of those things, man. And just I can't even give you credit and say, "Oh, good. Oh, thank you for admitting that." Now, no, man. Just
if I'm Newton, I'm like, man. For context, for those who don't remember, he called Cam out because he felt like Cam ran a zone read wrong. Cam Newton, by the way, Cam Newton ran a zone read wrong.
I'm sorry, been running zone read since middle school.
Right? Yeah, he criticized Cam Newton for that and said it was poor execution by the quarterback on the zone read. Which is
instead of just saying, "Hey, man, maybe it was a bad play call altogether," like a real coach.
No, he said it was good. He said that was the right play call. It was going to be a first down. His exact words. This is also the man who, in a game later that season, chose to run Sam Darnold on 4th and goal at the 1 instead of Cam Newton, and then stated afterwards, what did he say?
Sam Darnold could do, he could do the same things Cam Newton could do.
Yeah, he can do what Cam Newton could do. God, I'm so glad.
Kaza, I just found a silver lining to all of this. At least Frank Reich is not Matt Rule. At least there's a silver lining to all of this. At least he won't be a clown like that guy.
The bar is so low. I actually think fans are going to like Frank Reich. Okay.
If we win, we win.
But see, the thing is, the Panthers are going to be a better team next season, regardless. I feel like
by default, right?
Yeah. Right. And so people are going to say, "Well, see, look what Frank Reich came and did." And I think the fans are going to like him because and I'll say this: he's not going to do college shit. That was Matt Rhule's biggest problem. He's not going to bring in his boys from college. He's not going to have his favorite, players from Temple starting. None of that. So yeah. Oh yeah. Great point, Austin. Y'all know I don't really even like college football, but I might throw a party for this game. You know what? We should do an under construction party. I'm gonna invite some of y'all over to the man cave. We're gonna do a live broadcast, and oh boy.
If Colorado wins that game, man, oh my God, man, listen. We may have to start a separate podcast for that, boy. That man.
That's gonna be a good one. Oh yeah, good point. If it took Jay-Z 7 years,
it took Jay-Z 7 years.
I was gonna take Frank Reich. Let me ask you this, okay? I know that we'll talk more about this Sunday, but what is his timeline like? Because
Hey, Swag, thank you for mentioning that, and good question, Cosmo, because it did come out today. Frank Reich's deal is a 4-year deal, which I found very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I found that very interesting. Tepper was like, "Oh hell no more 7-year deals for anybody. To hell with that." So I think it's right there. I mean, that's it. I know that's a pretty simple explanation, but at the same time, I do find it very, very interesting that the deal was centered for 4 years. So I think he has around that. Now, we know how the NFL works, and if we don't see any real progress in the next 2 or 3, of course he could be gone before then. But realistically, he has more, and I'll give him that much. Yeah,
I think the Panthers will be fine. I mean, the division is still going to be weak next season.
Look, honestly, if we're being real, the opportunity is there for the Panthers to actually win the damn division next year. Really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially if Tom Brady retires. Which many people project he will. Even if he doesn't, I mean, the Bucs were not a good team even with him.
But I think all in all, man, I just don't see him being with the Bucs. Even if he decides to play, I don't see it being with Tampa Bay either way. Yeah,
I think it's too early for me to make a prediction on the Panthers.
Yeah, I got to see what we do with the draft and all these.
I think they'll be a better team. I do think they're gonna. I think Burns is gonna be better. Derek Brown. After Matt Rhule left, we saw like a huge change in Derek Brown, Terrence Marshall Jr. We saw players get better. I think players will be better. The Panthers will be better. Whether or not that translates to at least 9 wins, I don't know.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you something else I'm looking forward to. Whatever personnel stuff happens this offseason, we can't blame Matt Rhule because he's gone.
He's gone.
Maybe we finally get to see exactly who runs the show with the Panthers. Maybe we actually get to see Scott Fitterer actually do some GM stuff this offseason. You know what I mean? So,
he's not a GM. Nobody knows who the Panthers GM is. Nobody knows. It's a mystery.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery. All right. I think that's gonna do it for us tonight. I got a meeting in the morning, so I better take my old ass to bed. But thanks for joining in on this late night edition of Under Construction. We're gonna have to do these midweek updates more often.
Yeah, they're fun, man. I actually like these. Hey, shout out to some people in the chat that we haven't seen in a while, man. Anthony Badillo, man, good to have you, bro. There's a lot of y'all we haven't seen in the chat, man. So, personally, shout out to y'all. Thank y'all for joining us tonight, man.
No, yeah, absolutely, man. Great seeing you guys again. We love it. We do it for y'all. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed the Hornets win tonight.
Yeah, we actually won a game
in which one of the few games where like all the starters started and played, and we won against a Chicago team, which on paper should beat us and has had our number for like the past 3 or 4 seasons. So that was actually a really good win tonight. I mean, when you win and LaMelo Ball goes, like 2 for 13?
2 for 15, I believe. Yeah.
But I'm going to give him a little bit credit. We'll see how the rest of the week goes. We'll talk about this Sunday. But he said, okay, my shot's not falling, so I need to take it to the basket and get fouled. And it actually opened up the offense for everyone else. That logo 3 though, with like 3 minutes to play. Stop that. Don't do that.
Hey man, when you got the keys to the Lambo, man, you can pull over where you want to, man. You don't know nothing about that, cause you don't have the keys, man. You don't have
Plumlee gotta shoot a 3. And if
what Plumlee with the clutch mid-range jumper though?
He went tween and was like, "Yo, this guy tween left bang."
Hey man. If that shows up on Famous Los's IG tomorrow, I'm gonna
die. You know what? The best thing about that play, the bench reaction.
Right.
You would have thought he dunked on Mutombo the way they was acting.
My man Plumlee with the 2 guard skills. Man.
Yeah, it just goes to show. I mean, the Hornets. I mean, they still. I think there's still a little bit of basketball team left in them, and I'm telling you, they're gonna break our hearts after the trade deadline. They are.
Hey man, I've said this 1,000 times. Let me say it one more time. It's going to be a very interesting trade deadline. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to get into that tonight, but I'm going to just leave it at that.
Yeah, I watch. I'm telling you, the Hornets going to have a winning record after the damn All-Star break, and we're going to be thinking our under construction cursing because we lost another playing game by 52 points.
Hey, real quick, we say this, y'all, because there's a lot that schedule softens up a whole lot the second half of the season. Man, there's a lot of scrubs the Hornets are going to play, and we mess around and get healthy, and players don't get traded. Yeah, our tank dreams may go right down the tank. So just throwing it out there.
You know, I had a scary thought watching the game. Chicago might be a lottery team. What if Chicago gets Victor? So you're gonna have Zach Levine, DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, and Victor Wamba Banana on the same team.
Hey man, I think the NBA wants the Spurs to get Victor. I for some reason I just think I think they want Greg Popovich to have Victor.
It's not fair. You can't have in one coaching lifetime. You cannot have David Robinson, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Kawhi Leonard, and Victor. You can't. I won't allow it.
But you're talking about what's fair in Charlotte. I'm just throwing it out there. What's fair around
Anthony Davis? They owe us.
I agree, man. But hey, God hates Charlotte sometimes, man.
I'm just saying, I'm ready to burn stuff down. There will be a Panthers jersey bonfire in the middle of Bank of America Stadium. I'll let you guys know because we gotta keep it a secret. I'm gonna let y'all know like the night of. I don't know. I'm not burning any. I'm not burning my Steve Smith joints.
Hey man, y'all check eBay for some double XL Panthers jerseys going on sale.
I got a Tim Biaka Batuka jersey I can throw in there.
I got it. You know what? I got a D'Angelo Williams jersey. I'm just gonna give y'all.
He don't like us anyway. we had under construction had beef with D'Angelo Williams. It was great.
That was awesome.
You know what I have? I have a Barry Foster jersey.
Whoa, why? How?
My dad bought it right when we got the team. Barry Foster was like the first, like everyone, oh my god, and he never played a game, but they sold the jersey, and so my dad went one, and he still got it. I don't want to burn that though.
Yeah, I got you, but y'all can have this crap D'Angelo jersey I have around.
Yeah, let's go with burning D'Angelo Williams. Okay, all right. Hey, well, y'all have a great night. Y'all have a safe week. We'll see y'all Sunday. Peace.
Cosby.
Go for it. Go Niners. Niners game.
Let's go 23. Let's go McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey.